Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to Chapter 4 of our Railway Empire campaign playthrough. We've finally got, as you can see, some growth happening here in Louisville. We're pushing forward. We need 60,000 people to unlock this objective. We're getting closer and closer and closer. We've got a few people that we can actually look and see if we can hire. A stoker, a security guard, station master. Reduces maintenance on our trains, yes. And an inventor, which will give us 130 points. Yes, we'll take him as well. He's expensive, look at him. But worth it for that many points. Right, what can we get? So, we have quite a few trains here, but this is one that we've been working towards, the Consolidation B, which is a nice, powerful freight train, so we'll take that.
I wonder how this locomotive could be better.
And we also need to finish setting up our routes. Well, let's just hire that engineer
Was that
quickly.
your wheel that just rolled towards me?
When the war broke out, there was no time to lose. Shortly before that, I had opened my own bank in Philadelphia. And so important politicians leapt right at me to finance the war with treasury notes. Now it is said that he who buys treasury notes proves he is a true patriot. 2,500 workers are in my service, selling them throughout the land. This is also my service to our country.
Right, so this is to deliver the coal we need for the chemical weapons. All the chemical products that we'll be making. Everything else seems to be good, so...
Thanks to the expansion, Louisville has reached a considerable size. This has made the city a strategically important point in the war, as goods can be delivered efficiently to the front line from here. The president is satisfied. We've driven back the Confederate troops. Now we need to advance, and for that, we need to be able to deliver supplies. Your task now is to expand the rail network into the south as quickly as possible. Incorporate the existing lines into it.
Okay, fantastic. It looks as though we've actually achieved
for the
first
further course
objective.
of the
There
war.
we go, yes.
We've established military camps in Nashville and Memphis. Deliver weapons to them, and do so as quickly as you can.
Right, so we need to deliver 12 loads of weapons now to Tennessee. Oh look, we've been given some extra stations down here now. We've been given a network here in Memphis and Nashville with a little grain hook up there as well. Oh, that's pretty sweet. As we push down, we've been given these extra stations. That's awesome. So, all the changes that we made down here, hopefully, will pay off now, because now we can actually run our network here into Nashville. So let's start first of all. There you can see the difference. There's our expanded territory. Fayetteville over here is still locked out. Obviously we've still got Columbia over here, Rock Island, Des Moines. I think we're connected everywhere else up here now, aren't we? Yes, we are. So we still have a few stations in our own sort of northern sort of part of the territory that we can work with, but we need now to connect Louisville down to Nashville so that we can get that freight delivery up and running. So I'm going to bring up these lines here. This is going to be our sort of our join point here. So this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky as I try and merge these lines. So what I'm going to try and do is set up our passenger line to come in here, and then the freight line will just run alongside that. So let's try and bend this away a little bit from the industry. Smooth out those curves a bit. It's a 5% gradient. That's quite a steep gradient. Can we reduce that a touch? Get it down to 2%. There we go. Alright, so we have this joint here. Excellent. Now we can bring this line down here. So this gives us a passenger line here, this is the passenger line here on the left hand side. This will be able to then run into our central platform here as a passenger service, and then this is a freight line here on the outside. This will be able to transport the weapons down here, and then we can also put passing loops in on both of those lines so that we can get trains running back and forth here. Now if we come out of Nashville the other side, you can see we've only got one line connected, and then it splits into a passing section all the way along here, really long passing section, so we can actually just repurpose part of this line. The rest of it is already in place for us. It's not a huge amount of work we need to do. What I do need to do is take out this section here, like so, and take out that junction there, and here. Can I reconnect nice and simply? No. Okay, well what I can do instead, we take out this piece here. Now if we take out this, this and this, and we'll get rid of the supply tower, we've got this double line that runs all the way along here. Now again, I'm going to take out this and this and the supply tower, and we've got the basis here for our main line. So now we can bring this in here and connect to there. That's our passenger line. This is our freight line, like so. A nice kind of smooth transition now. And then running these down this way, you can see that the passenger line already kind of goes in, but it goes in with this weird kink if we rework things because of the way we have this set of points just here. So I'm going to change that slightly. I'm going to put a demolition marker there so I can take that bit of track out. I'm going to put a demolition marker there and just take that whole piece of track there. And now I'm going to bring this down here, like so. Looking around to see what other stations we've got that we might want to connect with. We've got St. Louis just there. We're probably going to want to get a connection there as well. So, actually, I need to take a bit more of this out. Let's take that piece there. And that piece there. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's much easier to do all your switching if you have a straighter piece of track to do your switching from. So you can see what I'm trying to do is just straighten out this section here so I can put crossovers in for when we actually do switch our track. There we go. So that means we've got a little bit of a tight turn as we approach the station, but then we have a nice straight piece of track here so that we can actually put our switches between the two lines where we need to, so that when we bring lines out this way to go up to St. Louis, we've got, you know, those can come in at this direction here. They can join around this point into these two lines, and then we can do the switching that we need to make sure that the trains are going onto the right lines and without any issues. Now we are almost out of cash, so we can't do anything with those guys. I can't even hire most of these guys either. We're just going to let some money go through. Let's start checking staff, see who we can hire. Get an engineer. Can we get a stoker with good friendliness? Yes, we can. Don't have any conductors yet, which is a bit of a shame. Okay. I am going to need... Oh, we have a conductor. Is that conductor going to work well on this train? Well, not going to have any major complaints, so we'll hire on this train. We are going to need an engineer and a stoker. So that's hired, no task. Okay, security guards. Yes, we've got a few security guards. We want to make sure we have...
Even if we are in the midst of the turmoil of war, we cannot forget that it will one day
security
be
guards
over.
Boosting
And then
the
we
security.
will work together with the southern states and be a whole once again. Our president will do it. Of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, as I said, we want to make sure we have security guards available for our, weapons run, so that we're not going to risk losing out any of those important bits of weapon shipments. All right, I'm kind of lost. Where are we? Here we are, Nashville. And look at that. Our network is working really efficiently. We're already up to 230,000 effectively, or almost 230,000. What is missing? Okay, I'm just trying to see where to put that. Let's put that supply tower here. Okay. Do I have a time limit on these objectives, actually? 1862. Oh, yes, we are. We've got a year
Was
and a
that
few
your
months.
wheel that just rolled towards me? Are
Let's
you
immediately
missing
get
any
a freight line
plans?
up and running.
Because there's something I
With a
found.
consolidation B. Let's get that engineer hired. The stoker. Yeah, that stoker will do. We want a security guard as well. Can we get a friendly security guard? No. Okay, but any security guard will do as long as it's not a negative. If there is, you see me messing around with these to make sure I'm getting these little happy faces as opposed to the angry faces. If you get a good sort of understanding between the staff on the train, then it gives a little boost to their bonuses. So each member of staff will give a bonus, in terms of improving passenger rating, improving engine speed or engine reliability, so on and so forth, ticket prices, etc., depending on the member of staff. But what you also see this train's just waiting for clearance. Just going to quickly follow that train. Oh, what we also want to do, if we go to manage the line, we need to make sure we make it a freight train. Save those changes quickly before it spawns in. You can see there it's delivering weapons. Excellent. Now, I'm not sure whether or not I need this to go...
Sometimes I find the enthusiasm with which our compatriots invest
Memphis
in the
as
war
well.
abominable. But if they didn't, we would
We'll
be
find out.
doomed.
We'll deliver just to Nashville to start with, and then we'll see what happens. Let's put in a passenger line as well. But yeah, sorry, going back to those bonuses, I'm just going to open up the construction menu so I can pause the game for a second. Those bonuses that we see, obviously if you have happy, content staff that get on well with each other, those little bonuses that they get, they all get a little bit of a boost. Now, if you have staff that don't like each other, then it can have a bit of a negative impact. And if everybody on the train hates each other, then it can just kind of, the tensions between the staff can escalate and escalate. And eventually the train will just stop, and just not because it's broken down, but because the staff have a massive argument and just refuse to work with each other, refuse to talk to each other, and just the train just stops, and you have to wait for things to calm down. It works in the same way as a random breakdown, but it's a staffing issue. So if you throw in maintenance breakdowns and then random breakdowns, and then you also have bad weather breakdowns. If your trains are running and there's a storm overhead, then your trains can break down due to the bad weather. You also now have breakdowns from staff just refusing to work with each other as well. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you don't have people that are diametrically opposed to working with each other, because that just causes all sorts of issues. We're getting a connection bonus just here. Nashville doesn't need cotton, but Memphis does. Okay, so yeah, what we'll do is we'll very quickly start dropping in some small services. We need to reconnect our corn network just here, as you can see. We've got a few other small businesses around here we can work with. Nashville needs barley. We don't have... Oh, we do, just over here. It's a bit of a trek. Can I do that with a large station? Yes, I can. That saves a little bit of extra cash. Now, we're going to be running a line from St. Louis to Memphis, so I can't just connect straight in like that as much as I'd like to, because we're going to have other tracks coming in and around that way. Although I suppose if I'm clever enough with the way I do it, I could get something close. Let's get these minor businesses up and running first of all, though. So I'm going to take this piece of track out because I want to rework it. Let's bring this down to about here. Try and bring this on at a relatively straight angle. If I can. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like that. Let's bring this line in just here. Can I straighten that out a little bit? It might be a bit awkward. I think that might be as good as it's going to get. Yeah, that'll do. I could perhaps have repositioned that station, but it'll do like that. So that's connected. We just got our bonus there for connecting before it ran out, which is good. I'm just trying to see what else we need to connect. We're kind of okay for now. Let me start by putting in this connection over here. So what I've done here is run in like this, and I'm actually going to change the way this works just to make this a little bit easier. So I need to take some of these lines out. I've been playing around a lot since I recorded part 2 of this campaign. Been playing around an awful lot in free play mode, you know, sandbox as well. Just experimenting with laying out track and running trains through stations in a slightly different way. And what I'm going to do here is, instead of what we have been doing, is I'm going to make a slight change to that. I need to get this nice and straight at both ends of the line if I can. I think that might be as good as it's going to get. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, that's a bit curved there, isn't it? Okay, so we need to change that slightly. There we go. All right. So we've got a bit of straight there to connect them and a bit of straight there. Okay, yeah, we can work with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rework these lines and reroute them like this onto these two platforms. There we go. Now, I can't remember which is which over here. It's been a while since I recorded part 2. But now I've got these lines that I can run completely unopposed down to here. Now, because we only have a small station over here, we are going to need to work this in a slightly different way. But this is where I want the tracks to join, like so. So I need to make sure everything over here runs fine first of all. So let's... That's not straight. Ah, that's a problem. Damn it. Okay, I've laid these out wrong, so I need to take that piece out again. I need to take that piece out again. So I'll take that whole piece there. It's going to be easier for me to do it this way round. I can get my angles correct then. We are also a little bit low on cash again. So let's bring the lines in like that. So now if I put a marker here, now you can see I'm drawing out where that straight track is. Drawing a straight line there. And you can kind of manipulate the line by how you're positioning your point, you know, your track point. And then once you've placed it and you've got your straight piece of track, you can then kind of just soften the line a little bit, you know, make that curve a little bit smoother by just carefully dragging it around again. Now what we want to do is obviously reduce the cost of this line as much as we can, so that means no huge bridges. But obviously I've got a mountain here that I need to be careful of, so I think, looking at this, because I've got a big bridge there, and then I've got another big bridge here, what might be cheaper is if I go this side, perhaps. If I take the line out this way, bring the line around this way like this. That's a really steep gradient, yeah, got to be careful of that. And then try and flatten the line out a bit like this. Got it down to about 260, and we don't have horrendous bridges to deal with. Can I smooth that line out completely, actually? Yeah, that's not too bad. That's 250. And then we're going in here. Okay, so which is the passenger line? This is the passenger line, the freight line. Okay. Yeah, that kind of works quite nicely. The other thing I want to do is maybe reposition where this comes in a bit. Again, just watching the incline angles. There we go. Right, so I forgot I didn't actually rebuild this connection here, did I? So we'll get that rebuilt like so. So this inside track, this is currently our passenger line, and the line that we've just connected to is going to be our passenger line, so they are fine. What I am going to need to do though is with this let's just reconnect these lines here before I forget, because we do actually have active services on these lines. So now you can see I'm going to try and drag those down a little bit so we have just a little bit of straight track there. And we don't need them to actually cross over with each other, but it just looks nicer, I think, if you have tracks all running smoothly and concurrently into a station and then exiting the same way. Now this one we need to be a little bit more clever, so we don't have the cash to finish this line off yet, but this is a freight line, and because it's a two-track station, we need this to get onto this track here. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to try and get it to merge just here. I need to pull this track point back. There we go. And then what I'll do is, at this point, I'll put another line switch point just there to go onto this line, and then our freight can run along this track here and then get to this point and cross and cross, and that way it can go from being on the right hand side to the left hand side, and we get no issues with passengers and freight both trying to go in on the same platform. You want to keep, especially as it's not so much of an issue when you start out in the very early years, but as you start to advance and the freight trains get faster, sorry, the passenger trains with the express locomotives get faster and faster and faster, the freight trains don't tend to gain anywhere near as much speed boosts. So you end up with a big disparity in pace between the two trains. And if you have freight and passengers on the same line, then you're going to end up slowing down any express trains that get stuck behind a freight train. They're never going to be able to get to the speed that they need to be. So, yeah, that's where you kind of want to keep freight and express separate on separate lines. Because then it doesn't matter if express trains kind of stack behind each other. They should be running at pretty similar speeds, if not the exact same speeds. But with freight, you know, there can be quite a big disparity in the top speed of a freight train and the top speed of an express train, not just in the power of the locomotive, but also in the weight of any cargo that they're carrying. If you have a fully loaded freight train as opposed to a half-loaded freight train, the fully loaded is going to be a fair bit slower because it's pulling all that extra weight. This is why you need that tractive power, especially if you have inclines. Express trains, their cargo is a lot lighter. Mail cars and passenger cars considerably lighter. They don't need huge tractive power, as you want to try and keep the lines as smooth and as flat as possible, and you don't want slow moving obstacles in their way. So there we go. The line is prepared. We just need to earn the cash to actually pay for it. Let's see what else we can unlock. What have we got here? Reduce maintenance by 20%. Increase power. Let's reduce the maintenance requirements. Definitely want to do that. Oh, we got another conductor there, didn't we? Let's quickly check. We've got a couple of applicants here. Let's just hire the stoker first. Just got the one applicant available. And there you see the difference. You know, one will work well with the crew, the other one won't, so we'll take that one there, thank you very much. And that'll give us a nice little bit of a boost there. 14% is a standard bonus there for increasing sort of passenger rating. That'll do us quite nicely indeed. Do we have another? Yes, we do. And we've got a new stoker as well. Okay. Right. We've got enough cash to pay for that line now, so we'll pay for that. Now that the planning is done, I can now come back into this and I can put in my switch just there. I'm going to need to stick some signals in this, because this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So I both need a pause point just there. And then this line here is going to need pause points as well. So we'll stick those just there. We don't need them on this side, but we shouldn't do. Actually, no, we might do here. The express train might need to pause if there's a freight train coming through, so we'll put a pause point just there for the express line as well, just in case there is a freight train coming through. Although the express trains should take priority in normal situations. This is wartime, so we need to be shipping those goods. How are we doing with our objective? Got 4 loads of weapons delivered. That's good. We've got plenty of time to get that done. I need a passing line along here for our trains. And with passing lines, what I've tended to be doing is putting 2 in. What I'm going to do here, just to be slightly different, is I'm actually going to put just one long passing line in but I'm going to split it up into a couple of sections. So yeah, that should be good enough. Let's create the straight on one side, come down and mirror it on the other. Again, we're pretty much out of cash, so just need to stretch that out just a touch. There we go, and that's fine. So let's let some more money go through. I've got a bandit. I don't tend to do much in terms of the sabotaging my opponents. I tend to just leave them alone. It's only when they start attacking me that I tend to attack them back. But generally, you know, some of those options can be quite expensive, so I generally don't tend to waste the money, you know, getting into an unnecessary conflict. Right, so I'm going to put nice big long express points here, so it helps keep the speed up when switching from one line to the other. Now, this whole section is now a separate piece of track. You can see there, look, if I look to place something, the red section there shows the collision issue. Obviously it's stopping me from placing a station here, but you can see it's one long straight piece of track. Now with signals, not only can we properly allocate, you know, which train goes, you know, the direction that the trains go, so we can block off access on these lines so that they go on the you know, the direction that we want them to when they get to this split section. But what we can also do is we can actually break it up into two sections. And there's a reason why this is useful. Now, if a train comes into this section here, now the train that's in here, you know, if it's waiting, if there's a train on this platform here that's waiting to come into here, and we've got a train leaving Memphis, it'll get into this passing loop, it'll get to its stop point just here, and it'll sit and it'll wait. This train will come through, it'll go through to here, but this train will, even though that the line in front of it is now clear, this train will continue to wait, and it'll continue to wait until the other train that's on the opposite line going through back over here towards Memphis, it'll wait till it exits this whole section and gets onto the main line again here before it then leaves. Now that's a huge long time to sit and wait unnecessarily. So what we can do is we can actually split this up into different pieces so that, you know, it can clear the line as quickly as possible. So I'm just dropping these in here as markers for now, and I'm going to split it up again here as well, actually. So if I split it there, I think I need to reposition those first ones. Just move these along a little bit. It's about here, I think. Right, there we go. So we've got nice straight long pieces here. So now we've got three reasonably equally equally spaced distances. Now, same scenario, we've got a train here at this stop signal here waiting, and we've got a train from Nashville coming through to Memphis. Now that will go through, it'll get into this section on this line here. Now the train in front of us will be waiting on the other line, and it'll get to this first set of points, and it'll clear these first set of signals and get into this section here, and you can see now, look, that they are separate sections. And once it gets into this section here, this train can now start to leave, so it'll now exit and go into Nashville. It means it doesn't have to wait for it to clear the entire passing loop, it just has to clear that first set of signals. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure that these are in the right direction. So this one needs to switch around, and this one needs to switch around, like so. And then do the same here. This one needs to switch, and this one, that one there needs to switch. So now we have 3 sections within this passing loop. So a train that is sort of stuck and waiting isn't going to have to wait for the entire loop to be cleared. It just has to clear the first set of signals within the loop, and then the other one is released. We'll be able to see that in action pretty soon. Let's actually get a passenger train up and running. So the Rogers Mogul is our current express. We want a dining car, and I'm going to put 2 on this, 2 tracks. I'm going to split these up just a little bit. If you see me do a little bit of sort of test live streaming over the last couple of days, you'll probably have seen the way I've been doing this recently. I've been setting up a train like this between 2 stations, and we need to make sure our express line is correct. So it's on the wrong platform right now. There we go, it needs to be on that platform. We need to change the route options to express. And what I have been doing is I've been running a passenger-only train and a mail-only train. Oops. So, with it like that, passengers are the priority, but if there's any space left over, it will pick up passengers. I want it to run just passengers, so I'm turning off the ability to pick up mail like that. And there we go. That train will just shuttle back and forth between those 2 stations and pick up passengers only.
Seems like your engineer has been caught with their pants down.
So there we go. We've got that train up and running. I need to get, before I forget, I need to put a supply tower in place. Let's put a supply tower in this first passing section just here. Actually, no, let's not put it there. Let's delete that. That's 30 grand wasted. Let's put it over here instead. What I've been toying, experimenting with as well is putting these on approaches to stations, so that they hopefully pick them up as they're either approaching the station or exiting the station, and then they've got the rest of the line to then blast through at full speed. That's kind of the plan. Staff. Can we get any staff on this train? Do we have an engineer? No. Stoker? No. Conductor? No. We don't need security guards on these.
From the war, but that's the way the Treasury bill business is. Our side is winning thanks to this, and there's also a little something in it for me.
Right, so let's get the second train set up. So again, I need to make sure I'm on the right line. The passenger line, do I want the grain farm near Columbia? No. Where am I? Down here. There we go, rail line. So once again, I need to make sure I'm on the right line, which is line 1. I want this to be a mail-only train, but if I start doing this now, when I make sure that I selected as freight only or express only, it'll clear those options off. So I'll do that first. Then go into Memphis and do the same. Save and exit. We want to add a locomotive. It needs to be again an express train, and this one I'm going to take a mail car only. And there we go. So if we follow this train here, speed time up a little bit, let it run through. So it goes into the passing loop. And you can see these trains are able to pass each other now with no delays whatsoever, because they're going into completely separate sections. So they're not even having to sit and wait at one of these junctions to let the other train pass through, because if they're in completely separate sections, they can just go straight in. It really does completely streamline
Knoxville and Jackson
the
can now
system.
be reached. Connect them to your rail network as quickly as possible and deliver weapons to the cities. It won't be long now until the fighting flares up there.
Ooh.
There are now also induction stations in Chicago, St. Louis, and Columbia. For this reason, the number of passengers to Knoxville and Jackson has increased. Make sure they all arrive on time.
I'm letting you go first on this journey into the unknown.
The President is worried that your trains will be attacked repeatedly in the future. The Confederates want to sabotage our supplies.
Okay, so suggesting that we hire security guards. I think we've just been given a whole load of new staff as well. Look at that, 4 engineers. Quite a few people here. Let's start hiring them. A lot of staff with no bits and bobs. So let's just pause and take stock of where we are. We've just been given some new cities. What have we been given? Knoxville, just here. Wasn't there another one? Was it Jacksonville? Oh, Jackson, down here. Yeah, Jacksonville's over here, isn't it? In Florida, if I remember rightly. Yeah, there's Jacksonville. So we need to connect this station here. Wow, this is a bit sort of out the way, isn't it? I've just got a single track station over there. That's going to have to change. I'm glad I reworked the stuff around Memphis. We put that in there for freight, didn't we? While I think about it, let's connect that freight line up. So I'm going to take this line here, and I want this to try and come in. Let's see, where can I bring this in? Right, so I'm not going to have the space because I don't have a track point. I suppose I could bring it in just here. And then I could put a switch in just here to go onto the freight line. It gets a bit complicated and a bit convoluted. It might be easier to just bring it in on this side here. I've got a tunnel to deal with just there as well, haven't I? Alright, so let's take this station out. Put it in at a different angle. And what we'll do is we'll bring a track around and we'll kind of loop it around and then bring it in this way. So again, I want to make sure I've got that straight track like so. Let's just soften that line out a little bit. Now I know this is going in on the passenger line, but again I'm going to have a little switch point just here. And this is why I want this nice straight piece of track here. I'm going to have a switch point which will then move it onto the freight line so it can go into the station where it needs to. So we'll build that loop there. And I've done it on this line so that this one here can head off towards Jackson if we need to send supplies out to Jackson. It doesn't look as though we do, but we do need to deliver weapon parts, I think, down to Jackson, don't we? Right, let's take another look at our objectives. Deliver 12 loads of weapons to Knoxville and 12 loads of weapons to Jackson. Okay, so if I go back to pause again. Let's see, where is Knoxville first of all? Let's try and get Knoxville set up. We can run. Why is Louisville starting to decline? I have to look into that. We're not meeting shipment objectives by the look of it. Just looking at this terrain, this is really steep, mountainous terrain through here. We could take a really big detour this way, or we could cut through the mountain, which would be a lot quicker but a lot more expensive. I'm also thinking about where the station is. It's a small station, isn't it? Just a single track. Let's see. Even at this angle, it's going to need a severe, a severe bend to get around those mountains. If I want to loop round this way and then cut through this section here, I suppose then that would be coming in here on this side of Louisville. That would be quite quite bad. What is it I actually need to deliver to Knoxville? Is it just weapons? Yeah, it's just weapons. Okay, so yeah, theoretically then I could just have a freight-only loop and not worry about delivering passengers to Knoxville. I need to think about this for a second. This seems like a good place for us to end this episode. It's slightly shorter than usual, but yeah, we've still achieved a fair bit. You know, we've got our next set of objectives. We've put some more tracks in. We've got some more trains up and running. I think now's a good point for us to just take a breather for a second. So when you come back, we'll carry on with part 4 of Chapter 4 and start shipping some weapons down to Knoxville and Jackson. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. I'm Jim Bob, and I'll be back with the next chapter, or the next part of this chapter, very soon.